Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 Twitter handle. As you all know by now, it's Monday, March the 27th, and I'm joined today by young Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. How are you, Aidan? Good weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Tony, how was yours?
Fine, it was all right. It was decent, as they say. Yes, indeed. Now, I shall direct you to the ticker tape running along the bottom. First and foremost, it's our new offer, which is on its the last chance to take advantage of this new offer this week. You should subscribe to the Celtic Way website, and we thank everybody that has so far. We will endeavour to provide you with top quality football journalism covering the club you love, and it will cost you £1 for 3 months of full access to everything that's written on the website. And all you have to do is click a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And as I say, we thank everybody who has already done that so far. If you want to watch videos like this and read everything that's on the website, then just click that button, guys. And we also say thank you to SENECA. And as you know, the Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Now, Aidan, no club football this weekend, plenty of international football, and plenty of stuff to talk about with regards to the Celtic contingent who are representing their countries. And the big talking point over the weekend was Daisen Maeda withdrawing from the Japan squad, heading home. Aidan, don't really know the nature or extent of his injury, but he's carrying a knock, an injury, a niggle, whatever you want to call it. And as usual, doubt for the Ross County game, doubt for the Rangers game on April the 8th. Oh, panic. We need to assess the extent of the injury, and obviously Ange Postecoglou will update everybody on Friday when he previews the Ross County game. But yeah, Daisen Maeda, the latest casualty, Aidan, injured on international duty.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a blow to hear that, wasn't it, Tony? Obviously, we knew he'd had a wee knock to going away. Luckily, he did only miss the game at Tynecastle, and then he was back for the next match. Then he gave an interview when he was first on international duty, saying he'd had to change his sort of training schedule in recent weeks to get himself fit. He then was on the bench during Japan's 1-1 draw with Uruguay, didn't get on, and then obviously he's now departed and came back to Scotland. Fingers crossed that is just a precaution, and just the fact he was maybe already carrying a wee knock, it was just safe to sort of pull him out because it's not competitive games for Japan, so it's not worth the risk. But given the big games coming up, we really need to hope that he's all right because he's such an important part of what Ange wants to do. So it was definitely a blow to see that, Tony. And a wee bit worrying, even though we don't know the full extent. Like you say, you just start to panic when you see stuff like
that. I hesitate to use the word crisis, Aidan, injury crisis, but I think Celtic have got a few injury concerns, and we'll probably touch upon that later on in the week once we get the full SP regarding the various players. But there's a bit of a roll call going on at the minute with injured players, is there not, Aidan?
Yeah, it feels like that. We've obviously discussed in recent weeks how strong the squad is, etc. Yeah. I think we were going on about how the only one that had really been out at points with an injury was Stephen Welsh, and how really the squad was in such a good shape. And then it feels like you get hit with 3, 4, 5 injuries all at once. But fingers crossed, most of them are okay, and it's just precautionary measures, Tony. But as you said, it's purely speculation until Ange does his press conference.
Now, you would never, and Ange certainly, Postecoglou would never deter players from representing their countries in international duty. He's been an international manager, so he actively encourages it. But lots of people who don't like their international football fix and just are, 100% behind club football. That's why they don't like international football, isn't it? Because players can come back injured or whatever. So it is thin edge of the wedge, as they say, isn't it? But it's an occupational hazard when players represent their countries. They can get injured, but they can get injured at training back home and get injured in games. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just one of these things. If you're going to have sort of a strong squad with really talented players, the chances are that a good chunk of them are going to be away representing their countries. Exceptions maybe being players like Jota, etc., because of how strong the Portugal squad is, for example. That's just the way it is, Tony. We mentioned before that Andrew's quite happy for them to away feature for their countries. He knows what it's like from that point of view, given that he was the manager of Australia for a number of years. So it's just it's always going to be a thing. It's always going to be part of the footballing calendar that players are away. Obviously, in particular in recent months, for some players like Maida, etc., there's been even more international football than usual because of the World Cup. Usually that'd be the summer, but it was different this time round. So yeah, fingers crossed the rest of them will be okay. But it's just every few months. I can understand if you're not into your international football that you probably think it's maybe a bit of a nuisance in a way. But yeah, you just need to hope they're all okay.
Is it heightened, Aidan, because there's 9 games to go and everything's on the line now? I guess, is that what a lot of Celtic supporters are feeling, that anxiety even more now, because we are entering the business end, 9 points clear, a Scottish Cup semi-final to look forward to, 1 trophy in the bag. There is a potential domestic treble there. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but is it that because you're feeling like that and you don't want players obviously missing important games and crucial run-in? That's how everybody's kind of on edge at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think that could probably play a part, Tony. Although I feel there's always kind of on-edge injuries no matter what time of the season it's at. But yeah, that probably has heightened it, like you say. We are going into the so-called business end of the season, starting with this Ross County game at the weekend. So I can I can sympathise with why people are maybe a wee bit more on edge than usual. But like I say, just it is kind of speculation with the true extent of any of these injuries until Ange gives his press conference. And I know in the past we've been really concerned because there's been a few players with knocks, and then Ange just goes, "Yep, everybody's available" at the start of the press conference. And that's it usually. But so fingers crossed it'll be the same this time round. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Derek Crawford comes in, Aidan, probably mirroring the way a few Celtic supporters feel. He detests the international break. Having so many international players is always a risk, and he doesn't think that the players get looked after properly when they're away. And that's a different matter entirely, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's probably quite hard for us to speculate on that. I'm not really aware of how good the sort of sports science or physios etc. that are available that all the countries that Celtic send players to. I like to think if there was sort of an issue with the care of the players that were getting sent away, then Ange and the club would have made some sort of noises about that. We would have heard. So, but whether or not they've all got medical staff as good as Celtic is another discussion. I wouldn't really know, but hopefully they are. It's just unlucky, Tony, when people have been picking up knocks when they go away, and it's they're not all flying into tackles and training, etc.
Beach Boys comes in and says Maida went to Japan with an injury from Celtic. He's not trained with Japan while he's there. Players know the script. Celtic win the next 10 games, they win a treble, and none of them will be taking any chances. There might be an element of that to it as well. Peter Duffy comes in. We look too far ahead and the nerves kick in. We have a big squad and knocks and strains are common at this stage. Ange has it all under control. Aidan, there's Peter Duffy, a man confident in the manager to sort it all out.
Yes, I mean that was hopefully Peter's right. To be fair, Celtic do have a big squad. Well, we won't make any bones about that. You're very lucky compared to pretty much the rest of the league that even if you are losing a few players, you can still bring somebody in that will do a job. So we are lucky from that perspective, but you still want to have all your best players available as well. So fingers crossed that they are okay, Tony.
Yeah. Steve MacArthur asks the question, has anyone actually said what the injuries are and how long they're out for, or will the break help them rest up? Well, we don't actually know the extent of the injuries, do we? And what they actually are. It just said that Maida was injured, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't really a specific update on what his knock was, just that he'd been sent home. I think it was a thigh strain he was dealing with originally when he gave that interview last week. And like I say, when he was on the bench for Japan,
yes,
I'd have to imagine that they thought he was at least in contention. He was an unused sub in the game against Uruguay that I touched on earlier, but he was on the bench. So, there could have been a situation that arose in which he had to come on. So I like to think he wouldn't have been on the bench if he was injured. But maybe there's been another tweak since then. So that game was Friday, I believe, so maybe over Saturday, Sunday, something else has happened, but there's not been any actual specific update, I don't think, on what his injury is.
Now, speaking of Japanese players, Aidan, another one catching the headlines is the number 8, Kyogo Furuhashi, who's the subject of a documentary back home, and the camera crew following his every move, and they put it out, and people are asking about various links to it, but there's been various clips being shown, even of Kyogo walking around Glasgow, mingling with Celtic supporters, people asking for selfies, autographs, a clip of him, Jota cuddling him at the training centre, that kind of stuff, and talking about, Kyogo talking about moving on from not being included in the international squad so far, and also a wonderful clip of him playing a kickabout with a father and son, like in a gravel ash park, isn't it? And they actually look delighted that he actually took part. And it looks so got, I think it's in Japanese, isn't it? Japanese subtitles and all that. So, but I think some of the Twitterati are going to try and translate that, I believe, at some point. But if I don't have the link to Aidan, I'm not sure if there's any links been made available yet so far, but it seems worthy of the watch when it does eventually drop, because someone will translate it into English, I believe, and if it becomes widely available, it looks like something that a lot of Celtic supporters will tune into and enjoy.
Yeah, I think particularly, obviously there's interest anyway because everybody loves Kyogo, but the sort of tidbits of been able to see behind the scenes at Lennoxtown, for example, it was quite cool that the clip with Jota that you mentioned there. I don't think there's been a full link made available, but there's a few threads out there on Twitter of like 4, 5, 6 clips. So, like you mentioned, of course, that was a good one when he was kicking the ball with a father and son. So his trainers must have been good, Tony, but we're on that red ash park. But outside of that, which maybe he didn't realise before he actually jumped on it, because as anybody who's played in those things know, your boots or your trainers, whatever you're wearing, to not survive more than a few games on them. But it was nice to see Tony, and it's a good way into not that Kyogo needed this, but to humanise the players, etc.
He must have certainly looked at the red ash and thought, "You don't play football in this, do you?" You know, that would have been the first question he would have asked. Yeah, but the clips that are doing the rounds certainly look as if it'll be a worthwhile watch. And one thing that does come across is Aidan is he just seems to have a smile permanently everywhere he goes.
Yeah, it does look like that, and it was the sort of, I think it was the ending clip or near the end when he sort of was kicking the ball out with the sort of dad and his son, and it was almost like something out of a movie, the way he was sort of, walking along through Glasgow and waving to people and stuff like that, and then going and kicking the ball about, and then he had this sort of wee quote at the end about, he still wants to, he's happy with what he's done so far, but he still wants to improve, etc. So no, it was really good to see, and hopefully the whole thing does become available, because I'd imagine there'll be a lot of Celtic fans that'll be keen to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has an insatiable appetite for anything, as you say, that Kyogo Furuhashi does. But the main thing being sticking the ball in the net for Celtic, Aidan.
Which he's been very good at this season.
He has indeed, yes. And we're still, I think all of us are on course to win that personal goals battle that we all put up. I think I said 36. Did you say Aidan 34?
I think it was either 34 or 35, Tony, yeah. So
Sean's a couple shy of you, isn't he? So
I think he's 33, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
We're in the ballpark, aren't we?
Roundabout, I mean, the way he's been going, the fact, as we pointed out, it's been so impressive, the fact that none of his goals have involved penalties, and he's a striker, yes. So I think that's kind of worth taking into consideration. If he maybe did finish on 30, but the fact none of them are penalties is probably just as impressive as somebody that's sitting, 40 plus, but there's 5, 6, 7 penalties in there. So his numbers have been phenomenal, and long may it continue.
Yeah, it'll be a massive figure in the 9 games that there are left. Hopefully 11 games, Aidan, with a semi-final victory over Rangers and a potential final as well. So that's obviously what Celtic are hoping for. Now, there was no club football at the weekend, as I've stated, but a Celtic Legends team went down to Liverpool, Aidan, and raised money for like the Liverpool Foundation and various charities and the Celtic FC Foundation. I think a healthy, was it 4,500, 5,000 Celtic supporters travelled down to Anfield for a game. Celtic Legends lost 2-0. What was your thoughts? Various things happened as well, Aidan.
I mean, it looked like the fans enjoyed their day out when they were going down, as you do on these trips. I think it was about 4,000. That was what the Celtic website confirmed on Friday when I was doing a wee preview for it. So it must be at least that, if not more. There was a few interesting names in there, Tony. Whether or not we'd categorise them all as legends, so to speak, I'm not entirely sure. But there was some sort of big names in there for Celtic. Obviously, Boric was playing. Still in Petrov, Paul Lambert managing, Lustig as well. But yeah, it looked like, it was one of those games. You can go to these things sometimes and they can be a wee bit lacklustre, but the fans sort of seem to be up for it to an extent, and it looked like it was a decent enough atmosphere.
And Mr. Gerrard scored the penalty. Former Rangers manager Steven Gerrard scored the penalty for Liverpool, and and there was all sorts of shenanigans after it. Aidan, what did you make of that? Just handbags, or just kind of a typical noise up, supporters noising up a player, and the player just having his revenge?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like that was, that was his big moment. Obviously, scored in a charity game, which it's up to him. Obviously, if he wants to do that. Surprised he didn't slip, to be honest, when he was running away to celebrate. But yeah, obviously, he's giving it to the Celtic fans and they're giving him a bit back. It's probably expected. I'd imagine it would have been sort of, an English PR team, etc., putting that Liverpool team together. They probably didn't even really think, they were just thinking we'll get Steven Gerrard and obviously, one of Liverpool's high-profile players. I'd imagine they probably didn't even think about the sort of Celtic Rangers aspect when they were doing it. Well, that was the impression I got anyway when I seen it was announced.
Yeah.
Because I was surprised when I first seen it, and then the more I thought about it, the fact it was so late as well that he got confirmed after we've known about a lot of the squads for a while, like Jamie Carragher, Martin Skirtle, Steve McManaman for Liverpool. That's all been known for a while. So yeah, I think as soon as you've seen that Steven Gerrard was announced, given that it wasn't that long ago he was Rangers manager, it wasn't 10 years ago, anything like that. It was only 2021 he left. So I think you could anticipate that there was going to be a wee bit of aggro, Tony.
Yep. Now, Edward Wireboss says Gerrard was petty, but we'll address something he didn't. There were objects and missiles thrown at Steven Gerrard as he celebrated in front of the Celtic fans. People will say, no, he goaded the Celtic fans and stuff like that, but I'm with Derek Crawford on this one. Regardless of a charity match or not, the idiots flinging things on the pitch is unacceptable. That, for me, is unacceptable behaviour from Celtic supporters. I don't think they covered themselves in glory with that episode, regardless of whether it's Steven Gerrard or whoever. And I know he was always going to do that, wasn't he? He was always going to take the penalty, and he was always going to rub Celtic supporters up the wrong way if he scored, and he did score. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I'm with Derek Crawford. I don't like to see that players being subjected to missiles being thrown.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there, Tony. It was probably not the best way for some of the fans to conduct themselves in that case. They're probably already giving them pelters, shouting and that's going to happen. But yeah, it probably shouldn't be throwing stuff really. It doesn't probably paint the club in the best light and stuff like that, Sam.
No, so that was just the kind of my bit of an unsavoury episode from it, especially when it was for charity and they were doing, both clubs were doing lots of good things. So I prefer to focus on that side of it, that lots of money was raised for the Liverpool FC Foundation, other charities as well, the Celtic FC Foundation. What happened, but I don't particularly want to talk about it anymore. It's unacceptable. End of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely. Just talking about the game in general, Tony, obviously it was 2-0. Given it was Celtic Legends, I was surprised you weren't called up.
I don't think I'm in any shape or form a legend.
I've seen you in that number 10 role, Tony. Pulling
the strings, orchestrating and directing traffic. Not actually touching the ball, but just pointing and stuff like that. Yeah, indeed. I was surprised because Paul Lambert's a good mate of mine. I was raging, never get a call up, to be honest. I'll need to give him the wire and say, here, what happened. But yeah, I mean, some of the players that played, like Trevor Sinclair, finally managed to get his a run out with the hoops. Ramon Vega was there. Ross Wallace, as you said, some of the names that were certified as legends is maybe questionable, but just good to see them all enjoying and professing their love for the club, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the players always look like they enjoy these sort of games when you see them. I know I've been at a few in the past. I think there was a Man United Celtic one a few years ago, maybe more than a few years ago, to be fair. I remember Henrik Larsson scored a hat-trick in it, and all the players look like they're always enjoying the day out, and it maybe does give some players that didn't get the best opportunity at Celtic and this occasion to sort of get the chance, playing at Anfield as well, which I'd imagine was sort of on a lot of people's bucket list, and maybe didn't get a chance to do it in their professional career. So, yeah, it looked like some of them enjoyed themselves, but I think there was a few names in there that it was maybe slightly questionable whether or not they were legends. But look, if you were offered the opportunity, you're not going to say no.
Without doubt. Of course, Henry got a hat-trick in the game you've seen, Aidan. It's what he does. You know
That is what he does, yes. But every Legends game I went to, he was involved in that he scored, I'm pretty sure, Tony. I don't know that stat.
do you expect anything less?
But yeah. No, I don't, to be fair.
But I mean,
He's as well, Tony. He's a geary, I forgot about him.
Yeah. What I will say is, from what I saw on Twitter and social media, the fans had a wonderful time.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like sort of, people were enjoying it, travelling down in it. It was an extra, obviously, given that there was no club football. It probably timed well that it was during the international break. If you're not interested in your international football, or not even if you're not interested, but you're still looking for your Celtic fix, is probably a better way to describe it. Then you were able to get yourself down to that game, and 4,000 plus Celtic fans by the looks of it, plenty of money raised by charity. Looks like it was a success overall.
I mean, that's a phenomenal turnout for Celtic supporters going down, for a charity Legends game. You have to say that. They turned out in their numbers and well done to them for going down.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it looks like they enjoyed themselves. I know I had a few pals that went and they said it was a good day out. So, yeah, no, seemed to be overall, it went pretty well.
Now, as we move through the week, we'll get a bigger picture of what and who will be available for Ross County on Saturday. I guess for a lot of people that can't come quick enough, Aidan. But just touch on Scotland played at the weekend. They won 3-0. Callum McGregor played. Just does what Callum McGregor does, doesn't he, Aidan?
Yeah, I was at the game on Saturday, Tony, and I thought Callum McGregor played pretty well. Overall, it probably wasn't the best Scotland performance, which, not a game you're going to be watching back as a classic for the ages to be probably to be kind about it. But overall, McGregor looked pretty good. It wasn't under a lot of pressure. Cyprus were sort of quite defensive. They didn't really offer much going forward, so probably isn't the hardest he's going to have to work in a game. But he was pretty tidy in the middle of the park. He was playing beside Ryan Jack for a period. McTominay came on as a sub, so a few different players in there. But yeah, no, he was man of the match. I believe Tony. He was given in the ground as man of the match anyway. I don't know if it was different on the telly, but he done pretty well, I thought.
We in the stands every time we got the ball. Nobody going near him and stuff like that.
Well, he got. I'm pretty sure he got booked sort of early on in the game, and I was thinking
for cementing somebody.
Maybe if he was sent off, that wouldn't be that bad. Then he'd be out of the next game. But look, like I say, Cyprus weren't really threatening that much. They did put the boot in a couple of times, but that was probably the only thing, in an all-case challenge. But yeah, McGregor was fine, I thought. And I think it was maybe a wee bit difficult to pick a man of the match, to be honest, because it was one of those games where nobody was phenomenal, but I think he was probably a decent enough choice.
Excellent. Now, Aidan, there's some club football tonight, isn't there? As we move, and the Celtic Women team are taking on Rangers Women team again, Aidan. Seems like they keep playing Rangers, isn't it? They won the last one 3-0, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, they won the last game 3-0. That was on BBC, I believe, that one. And it was a pretty dominant performance. At the time, I think that actually might have put them just a point off Glasgow City.
Sure.
But since then, they have dropped points, and also Celtic Women do have a game in hand. So currently the table's sitting at Glasgow City are top, Celtic second, Rangers first. Celtic are a point ahead of Rangers, but obviously tonight's a big game because if they were to win, it would sort of open up a gap above Rangers, and that would allow them to sort of focus between now and the end of the season of
chasing down.
getting the game in hand play, and then they'll need to play Glasgow City at least once. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Rangers obviously won the league last year, but apart from that, I think Glasgow City had won it 12, 13 times in a row. They are very much like the form team or the main team in the Scottish women's game. So it's going to be tough, but I think Fran Alonso, he's built a good side there. He won the double last year. The year before that, they'd qualified, or they were in the qualifiers for the Champions League. So this would be sort of good progression if they were to win the league. I think there is a chance they might just run out of games, unfortunately, unless results sort of go away in the next few weeks. But yeah, so it's on Sky Sports tonight for anybody that's want to watch it. I believe it's across Sky Sports Football and Sky Sports Main Event. And I think that the coverage starts at 7:30. Sorry, I'm a wee bit hoarse this morning, which people might have noticed, but 7:30 the coverage starts at, Tony. People want
Quarter to 8 kick-off then, Aidan, is it?
Yeah. Quarter to 8 kick-off, yeah.
And where is it taking place?
I believe it's taking place at Broadwood, if I remember when I was doing my preview for it. It's Broadwood, but I will just double check that, Tony.
Sure, no problem. So taking place at Broadwood, if you fancy going along to cheer on the Celtic Women's team. If not, you can catch it on Sky. Aidan, yeah?
Yep, Sky Sports Main Event, Sky Sports Football.
Excellent. That'd be worth tuning in because, as you say, Fran Alonso's team are given a good account of themselves league-wise, trying to chase down Glasgow City, and they seem to be doing well against their counterparts. The Rangers have beaten the last couple of times, I believe. Isn't that right, Aidan?
Yeah, no, they have, and it is taking place at Broadwood. I just double checked that there. I shouldn't have doubted myself, Tony.
You passed off the wrong information.
No, I know that wouldn't be a good look. But no, they have been given a good account of themselves. It is tough, Rangers went unbeaten, I'm pretty sure, in the league last year, winning it. Glasgow City have obviously been one of the sort of the top team over the last sort of decade. They've reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League, etc. It is hard for Celtic to that extent, but Fran Alonso sort of seems to be building a decent enough squad, and I would imagine that if they don't win the league this year, if they're able to keep their players, they'll be in a very good position to do it next season.
Now, Kevin Ferry is asking a question, isn't it? If Celtic win tonight and their game in hand, how many points will they be behind Glasgow City?
So they're currently 9 points behind. So if they win tonight, the game in hand, that would put them down to 3, I believe. And obviously they'll need to play Glasgow City as well. So yeah, they're still in contention. Just 9 points is a lot. We can't turn around and say Celtic's gap in the men's games is a significant gap, and then not acknowledge that obviously Glasgow City have got a healthy lead at the top of the table in the women's game. But it'll be an interesting game, and I think the fact that it's during the international break, Monday night prime time slot, plenty of people will be tuning in, hopefully.
Yeah. Kevin Ferrier, whose message I put up, then he said, "Come on, don't start putting messages up." I just did. So I've asked the question on your behalf, Kevin. So yeah, and Derek Crawford has come in and said Glasgow City have been miles ahead for the last few years. Both Celtic and the Rangers ladies have really progressed. I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Aidan? You were touching upon the total dominance that Glasgow City had in the title previously.
Yeah, I mean they are sort of the main team in the Scottish, the SWPL. They've been said they won it like 13 out of the last 14 years or something incredible like that. They've competed in Europe, the Champions League, got to the last stages of that tournament. So they are probably, even though Rangers won the league last year, they had to basically have a perfect season almost to win the league, going unbeaten. And I think despite that, I don't think anybody would argue that Glasgow City are still the dominant team in the game. But yeah, like I say, Fran Alonso, they've done well this season in the league, and I do think if he can hold on to a good chunk of his players, even if they don't win the league this season, they'll be a good place to challenge next year.
Indeed. Well, that's half an hour, Aidan. We've managed to do another programme despite not having much to talk about, where we await the return of club football with bated breath. Don't want to take it up with negativity and talk about injured players. Want to talk about decent positive things, Aidan. We'll wait and see what Ange Postecoglou says on Friday's presser after an international break's always good, isn't it? And he's always worth a listen. So we'll count down to the Ross County game. We'll speak about that in depth more as the week progresses. Celtic playing on Sunday, Aidan, isn't that right? I believe this weekend.
Yeah, it's Sunday up at Dingwall, so it'll be obviously a tough game, but one that hopefully they'll be rejuvenated for, Tony, coming out of the international break.
I might leave in the next 10 minutes then and walk to Dingwall. Should be able to get there by Sunday. Isn't that right, Aidan?
I thought you were going to say leave now and drive to it. That's a bit excessive, come on.
Yes, you know how it is. But guys, thanks for your comments. It'll get better as we progress during the week. There'll be probably lots more to talk about. Injury concerns, Aidan, not a crisis for me yet.
Not yet, yeah. We'll see what Ange says.
So the manager says otherwise, isn't that right?
Yeah, I would say that's the fairest way to look at it, Tony. A concern at the moment, not a crisis, but our opinion could change in that in a few days' time.
Yeah, Davey are all coming in and saying it's an early kick-off in Dingwall, don't forget. Yes, we'll. I'm all aware of that, aren't we, Aidan? An early one in Dingwall, but hey, there it is. We'll, as I say, we'll preview that in the coming days. Guys, have a wonderful Monday. It's usually a happy Monday, but it's kind of desolate Monday today, isn't it? With no club football. You know, you need your club football fixed, don't you, Aidan?
Yeah, I mean, it's not until Celtic are away that you realise how big a part Scottish domestic football is in your life, which maybe leaves you evaluating things sometimes. But yeah, it'll be good to see club football back, Tony. Definitely.
Yeah, they do play a huge part in your life, which is why we're all on here and we're all talking about the club we love. And speaking of that, thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button so far. Just directs you to the ticker tape running along the bottom of the screen. And it's our new offer, which is your last chance to take advantage of that new offer this week. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way website, supporting top quality journalism, covering the club you love, it'll cost you £1 for 3 months of unlimited access to everything that's written on the website. That's just £1 for a click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thanks to everybody who's commented again today. Couldn't do it without you. We enjoy it, as you know. And we say also thank you to SENECA. The Celtic Way morning briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. So we hope that Maida is just a precaution, Aidan, and he's coming home to get himself fit and ready for Ross County. We'll find out in the fullness of time about the others as well. But in the meantime, give your ladies a support tonight, guys, and we shall see you tomorrow. And we'll talk about that game and everything else Celtic. All left for me to say is thanks for your comments, guys. Thanks for your contribution as always. Aidan, top class. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, guys.